House to vote on ICC sanctions regarding the bid for Gaza Warrants. The International Criminal Court's ICC prosecutor filed an application for an arrest warrant against Israeli officials, and the U.S. House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on legislation sanctioning the ICC. The action was taken in response to the prosecutor at a court in The Hague declaring that Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ought to be detained on suspicion of involvement in the Gaza war. Additionally, the prosecutor is requesting warrants for the arrest of 3 Hamas leaders. Republicans who support Israel have suggested a law that would prevent ICC officials implicated in the case from entering the U.S. In addition, it would prevent the officials from transacting real estate in the U.S. and cancel any U.S. visas they may have possessed. The bill is anticipated to pass the Republican-controlled House on Tuesday afternoon. The Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act was sponsored by Texas Republican Congressman Chip Roy, who has referred to the ICC as a massive threat to U.S. sovereignty. However, the Democrats in charge of the Senate are expected to reject the measure if it passes the House. President Biden, who has stated that he strongly opposes the plan, would probably veto it even if it passed Congress. His fellow Democrats might disagree on this matter. Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts Jim McGovern declared, "This bill makes a mockery of the rules-based international order that America helped build," after the proposal passed the House Rules Committee on Monday. However, a few House Democrats who support Israel have hinted that they would support the bill. ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan stated last month that he had reasonable grounds to suspect that Mr. Gallant and Mr. Netanyahu, along with Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas in Gaza, Mohammed Deif, the military chief, and Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader, were all guilty of criminal responsibility for alleged crimes against humanity and war crimes committed during the conflict in Gaza. It was the first time the head of a close US ally had been the focus of the ICC. According to Israeli police, the fighting started on October 7 when Hamas terrorists assaulted southern Israel, killing over 1,200 people and kidnapping 251 more. Since then, Israel's military campaign to eradicate Hamas in Gaza has resulted in at least 36,470 deaths, according to the health ministry operated by Hamas. Mr. Khan's announcement was met with fury by both Hamas and the Israeli authorities. The warrant petitions against Mr. Gallant and Mr. Netanyahu were criticized by Mr. Netanyahu as a moral outrage of historic proportions. Mr. Gallant charged that the prosecution was trying to deny his nation's right to self-defense by drawing a despicable comparison between Israel and Hamas. Israel, the U.S. and other nations have designated Hamas as a terrorist organization. As a result, Hamas has called for the cancellation of Mr. Khan's warrant applications for its leaders and condemned his attempts to equate the victim with the executioner. It will be up to the 124 member states of the ICC, which include the UK and numerous other U.S. allies, to determine whether or not to execute the arrest warrants once its judges decide to issue them. The ICC prosecutor's warrant requests for Israeli officials were outrageous, but the White House stated in a statement on Monday that it did not support the bill. There are better ways to support international justice and accountability, protect U.S. positions on the ICC, and defend Israel. And the administration is willing to collaborate with Congress on those options, the statement continued. Established by a 2002 UN treaty, the ICC steps in when national authorities are unable or unwilling to prosecute, looking into and prosecuting individuals guilty of crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide. Like Israel, the U.S. has not ratified the ICC's jurisdiction and is not a member of it. But it has supported the court's past prosecutions and arrest warrants unrelated to Israel or the Palestinians. After the ICC started looking into claims that the U.S. and other parties had committed war crimes in the Afghan conflict, the U.S. placed sanctions on top ICC officials in 2020, including Mr. Khan's predecessor. This was during the Trump administration.